Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoటి Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmadgurubhyo Namaha श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम नमस्ते So in the last class, I think we just read the 57th shloka, and then I told that I will explain the shloka in the next class, right? And what was the 57th shloka? Athat vyavritti rupena vedantaihi lakshate advayam akhanda anandam ekam yat tat brahmeti Tat Brahma iti avadharaye. This was what the sloka we read. And I was explaining to you, when we are told that the Brahman is like this, like that, but we cannot experience that Brahman at all by any means, then naturally a question will come in the human mind whether such a Brahman really exists, or is it just a figment of imagination of some rishis? They imagine certain things because they couldn't find how the entire Jagat is working. So they imagined a Brahman and then they gave out this all Upanishads. Aham Brahmasmi and all that kind of thing. Right? So in order to answer that, Adi Shankara is actually giving this shloka, right? Because whatever we experience in our life, and we want, our orientation is any knowledge consists of two things, two aspects. One is a theoretical knowledge, and then we have to practically experience that, then only it becomes a knowledge for us. That's why, that this is the scientific orientation. Everything you have to experiment. Experiment means what? Experience. So when Vedanta says that this Brahman is Antavat, so everything else in this world is Antavat, Anityam, Anekam, Asat, Achit, Dukkham, all this is what is our experience about everything in this world is. So the question is, can anything be there which is exactly opposite to all these things? And if it is there, why can't we experience it? You say Brahman is Nityam. Everything else is Anityam. We can experience everything else. Anityam we are able to experience, then why can't we experience the Nityam? Opposite, Sukha we experience, Dukkha we experience, opposites. We experience both. Shitam we experience, Ushnam we experience, opposite we experience. So why not Nityam, Anityam we should experience? Is there really anything called Nityam? Tattva Bodha question. Is there anything really called Nityam? This is the question, right? And if so, what is the pramanam for that? How can we know that? So that is what he is trying to answer here. Because we have seen what are the pramanam, pratyaksha pramanam, anumanam. So all when Tattva Bodha, we saw all the 6 type of pramanam. Arthapatti, right? So with none of those pramanams, we can experience Brahman. So pratyakshena va, anumitya va, tadusham brahma naiva jnatum shakyate, kim tatra pramanam? Lakshanam uktam pramanam kim is the question. For that we say Vedanta reveals Brahman. Vedanta is the Pramana. Our Shastra is the Pramana. There is no other Pramana. And when we discussed about the various Pramanams, various sources of the, we said Shastra is Shabda Pramanam. 5 sense organs we have got, each one is Pramanam for that. Eyes are Pramanam for Rupa, nose Pramanam for Gandha, then ears Pramanam for hearing. Similarly, Shabda Pramanam, Vedanta is the Pramanam for Brahman, knowing Brahman. No other Pramanam works for Brahman. This is what he said, right? And if we use Pratyaksha Pramanam and Tarkam, then there is a problem, because then we will not know Brahman at all. Because all these Pratyaksha Pramanam, Tarkam, all these even Anumanam work in the field of objective reality. Objective field. Whereas Brahman is subject, they can never reveal Brahman. So we say for revealing Brahman, Vedanta only alone is the Pramanam. This we have to understand very carefully. For so many things, there is Vedanta only is Pramanam, or let us say Vedas are Pramanam. For example, Punya Papa. What is the Pramanam? How do we know there is something called Punya, something called Papa? We can't see that. What is the Pramanam? Only Shastras or Vedas are Pramanam. They say Punya Papa exists. We have to take it as a source of knowledge. Rebirth. What is the Pramanam? Punarjanma. No Pramanam. Nobody says that I was so and so in the last Janma, this Janma I am so and so. Some people claim. We don't know how far those claims are correct and are made up or anything. But in general, none of us remember what we were in the previous Janma. But then when we see certain people, especially these child prodigies and all that, there is at least one logical conclusion we can come that Punarjanma exists. Because a 3-year or 5-year-old child, if it is singing Carnatic music, it has not learned at all from where that Carnatic music knowledge came. It's a question, logical question. So the only logical answer should be from the previous Janma, it is brought forward vasanas coming, and so that's why this child is able to perform in such a manner. This is the logical answer. For which Vedanta Pramanam, Veda Pramanam is there, because Veda says there is rebirth. And rebirth also, Veda says in so many Sukshma Sharira travels, Karana Sharira travels, and Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira take a new Stula Sharira. All the Vasanas are there, all Vasanas are there in the Sukshma Sharira. All Punya Papas are there in the Karana Sharira. So both get carried forward to the new body. Vedanta only Pramana. Otherwise, there is no other Pramana. So similarly, for Brahman also, Vedas are only Pramanam. There is no other Pramanam. But there also, if we take Veda as a Pramanam or Vedanta as a Pramanam, for revealing Brahman, we have one problem, one limitation is there. Vedanta will become the revealer, and Brahman will become the revealed. And we will be sitting and looking at Brahman. Through Vedanta, we will visualize a Brahman through whatever Vedanta is saying. What will happen then? Advaitam will be thrown out of the window, because then Pramatra, Prameya, Pramana, Triputi will come in. If we say Vedanta is the Pramana. See how tricky these arguments are. That is why when you come to Vedanta, your thinking must be absolutely clear. No room for any confusion or any, what to say, convoluted arguments. If you say Vedanta is a pramanam, if there is a pramanam, there should be a prameyam. An object, if there's a knowledge, source of knowledge, there should be an object of knowledge. We say object of knowledge is Brahman. Immediately problem comes. All along we are saying Brahman is subject, and now you suddenly say object of Brahman. So we have to negate this pramanam also, Vedanta pramanam also we have to negate. Then what will be left? Only the pramatra will be left, the knower only will be left. Everything else, including Vedanta, Pramanam, Prameyam, everything, all these which causes duality or plurality have to be negated. Then only you will arrive at what exactly is Brahman. So to begin with, we can say Vedanta is Pramanam, but when we are ending, we have to negate the Pramanatvam of Vedanta also. That is what is Advayam or Advaitam. I alone am there. There is nothing, no knowerhood, nothing. There is no knowledge. There is no knowerhood. I alone, the Chit, the knowledge, pure knowledge alone is there in this entire. This is where we have to arrive at. And to arrive at that, all these things are we are going through. No other way to arrive at that. So all this Pramana, Prameya, Pramatra, this Triputi has to be negated. And that's why Adi Shankara here brings it. He says Vedanta also does not reveal Brahman. Brahman is not an object to be revealed. When you negate everything else, what remains is Brahman. That is what is Advaita. That is what he is bringing in this sloka, right? And that is why he says, Natu Vachyartataya Vishayi Karoti Parantu Lakshyate. We can understand only through Lakshyam, through implication, not directly through words. That's how we have to understand this, right? And what does Vedanta do, as we have been seeing? It negates everything. For that famous Brihadaranyaka Vakyam is there, Neti Neti. So once we know something as Anityam, Parichinnam, Dvaitam, etc., we say all these are not Brahman. Like that you go on negating, na iti, na iti, na iti, na iti. Is this Brahman? No, this is not Brahman, this is not Brahman. You go on, negating all the objective world. And in that, toward the end, you will negate Vedas also. As a Pramanam, you will negate. Prameyam, Brahman as an object also you will negate. So this negation process has to go on till the last. And what will remain is the negator himself. Other than the negate, because for negating anything you require a negator. Isn't it? A subject is required. Without the subject, what will you do? How will you negate it? So what will be left after negating everything will be the pure negator alone. Sakshi, Chaitanyam, consciousness, awareness, pure knowledge. that what will be revealed. And that Vedanta says, understand that as Brahman. That's all. Beyond this, I cannot tell you also Vedanta says. Accepts. Because nothing, no words can reach, no, nothing can reach that Brahman, because it is there, but it can't be explained. Right? So, whatever we experience when we know it is limited, both in time, in terms of time and space, when we negate everything which is limited, what is remaining? Unlimited. That is why Brahman is unlimited. Right? Anantam, we say. Right? So, all this Drishya Varga, we saw Drishya Varga in the earlier. All these Drishya Vargas have to be negated. Yat yat Drishyam tat tat parichinnam. And therefore, Drik aparichinnam adrishyavat vyathirekena ghatavat. So, this is Anvaya Vyatireka method we can use. So, Vedanta, we must understand that Vedanta does not reveal Brahman positively. Vedanta says that after you negate every drishyam, every object of experience, what remains is Brahman. So when I said that knower, the negator remains, Brahman remains, means what? The negator is that Brahman. I'm talking about, that's what Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. Simple one. Aham Brahmasmi is not something that I am the king, I am the emperor, I am the managing director. Not like that. It's not a position. Aham Brahmasmi is not a position or some title. Aham Brahmasmi, the logical conclusion which Vedanta comes to when everything else is negated. What is left is Aham. And Vedanta says you understand that Aham to be Brahman. That's what it is. Yeah, in the process you have negated all your mind, body, sense complex also. Body, mind, sense complex. So that is also not Aham. So what is that Aham? Pure consciousness. Sat Chit Ananda is that Aham. That's what Vedanta says. Understand that. That's why Vedanta is Aham Brahmasmi. All this Upanishad knowledge is a cognitive knowledge, not an experiential. Right? Well, Vedanta also is a Vishayam only. So it also gets negated in the process of Niti. Right? And actually speaking, we talked about the Pramata, Prameya and Pramana, Triputi. So Prameya and Pramanam we negate. Then it's a Pramata is there. A person can be called a Pramata only if he has got a Pramatritvam. But the Pramatritvam also is negated. Then who is left? Pramata is there, but he doesn't have Pramatritvam. Once he doesn't have Pramatritvam, how can you call him a Pramata? For example, now you're all there, students. And I am a teacher. As long as you students are there, I can be called a teacher. Right? If there are no students at all, can I be called a teacher? When the moment I say I am a teacher, you are teaching whom? It's the question. There are no students. Everything is negated. So even Pramatritvam, the teachertvam, the teacherhood also is negated. Knower is negated. Because that knowership also is what? It's the adhyasa only on self. Like everything else is an adhyasa, a superimposition. Even this knowerhood is a adhyasa on the self, on aham. That also you have to, all adhyasas you have to negate. So even there is nothing called a knower. There is only the Sakshi Chaitanya. This whole thing he is bringing into this sloka. You have to understand this slokas very carefully, because we are towards the end of Atma Bodha. And as the end goes, the knowledge sharing becomes more and more intense. Dhanam. That's what he brings here. Very simple words if you look at it. But what is the implication of that? He says Lakshyate. Lakshyate means what? That we have to understand. Right? So Atad Vyavritti Rupena. Vyavritti Rupena means famous vakyam, as I said, Neti Neti from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So Neti Neti iti Vakya Pramanena Vedantaihi Advayam Lakshyate. He says. Advayam means what? Pramatra Pramena Pramatra Pramana Prameya Vilakshanam Rahitam Turiyam. Fourth. What is that fourth? Vedanta, Turiyam means fourth. In Sanskrit, the word Turiyam means fourth. So the fourth Lakshyate, what is different from these three, Pramana, Prameya and Pramatra, different from these three, that is what Vedanta is saying. Lakshyate is implying, is that Brahman. Right? And what is the nature? It is Akhandam Anandam Ekam. This is the Lakshanam of Brahman, which is non-dual, undivided, pure Ananda, Purna Ananda. Right? It is not Pratibimba Ananda. We must be very careful. It's not Pratibimba Ananda which we get now and then. And that Pratibimba Ananda is there in the Anandamaya Kosha. Experiential happiness we get. This is Bimbananda, the original happiness, original pure joy. The original I, Ananda Atma. Taittiriya Upanishad. Ananda Atma Brahma Pucham Pratishta. If you get an opportunity, such a beautiful Upanishad, I tell you, Taittiriya Upanishad. And that Brahman, that Paripurna Ananda, that Nirvikalpa Swarupam alone is called Brahman. And it is this Brahman which Jivan Mukta merges into. Tad Brahma iti avadharaye. So this was the 57th sloka. Now let us read the 58th sloka. Akhandananda rupasya tasyanandalabhashritaah brahmadyastaratamyena bhavantyanandino kilah. So the idea is continuing on the same idea, but Adi Shankara is presenting it different standpoints. So in the previous sloka, Brahman was said to be Akhandam Ekam Anandam. So question is, okay, how big is this Brahmananda? That's it. It's a pure Ananda. Immediately human mind will say, okay, how big it is? That Ananda you are talking, is this big, this big, this big, this big, how big it is? They are not bothered about this other things like Akhantam, Ekam and all. Ananda, because we are always on the look for happiness. The only unconscious goal every human being perceives, or in fact I will go to say every living being pursues, is Ananda only. In and through everything that we do or we don't do, it is that Ananda. That is why we sometimes when we have deep sleep, it is total ananda we experience. We don't want to get up. How difficult it is to get up in the morning, you all know. Why is that? Because you are in that ananda state. But that is not ananda of Brahman. That is the ananda of what? Mula Vidya. We must understand this very clearly. Deep sleep is a very good example for ananda experience. But that ananda is coming from where? Karana Sharira. Avidya. Mula Vidya, it is coming from there. Not from Vidya. Here we are talking about ananda coming from knowledge of Brahman. But still, as an example, we will say that this ananda is what we are always looking for, and when we get that ananda, we don't want to lose it. Because an ignorant person does not understand the difference between that ananda, Mula Vidya generated Janya Ananda, and Brahma Jnana Janya Ananda. We don't understand. But Ananda we understand. Happiness we understand. Joy we understand. What is the source of that we don't understand. We don't understand that one, the source is Anityam, the other, the source is Nityam. This is the difference we don't understand. But both are giving us Ananda, we are happy about it. Okay. Actually, there is a story which Paramathanandaji says, gives. So there is a frog in a well. And there is a frog from the ocean that falls into the well. And this ocean frog tells this well frog that ocean is big, very big. Now, well frog has no clue. It has never seen an ocean. It does not know how big it is. So the well frog is asking the ocean frog how big it is. How big is this ocean? Is it this big, this big, this big? The ocean frog keeps on saying, no, 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 naiti, neti, neti, neti. Says it's very big. Then this well Ananda jumps from one corner of the well to the other corner of the well and asks, is it this big? Because that is the big, maximum big the well frog can imagine or experience. Now what can the ocean Ananda say? Ocean frog say? Mauna Vyakya. That is what it will say. It will keep quiet. Because there is no way this well frog is going to understand that. Its bigness is limited to the size of the well. So that is how all our problem is. If we win some lottery, 5 crore lottery, we are so happy. We think this is the end of happiness. We have got everything. Now, how long will it take for that 5 crore to be blown away? Back to dukkha kara vritti. That's what happens, right? So even that ananda which the Upanishads talk about, we can't even contemplate what is that ananda is. But with this example, we can at least get an idea compared to a well ocean. Some idea. When Taittiriya Upanishad in the Ananda Mimamsa, it goes on saying that, at the ultimate is Brahmananda, Ananda of Brahmaji, maximum. Starting from a Ananda of a Purusha as a human being, it goes on Gandharvananda, Manushyananda, Gandharvananda, like that every loka goes, Brahma Loka, Brahmananda. And says that this Ananda which Upanishads talk about, as a result of this knowledge of this self, Atmananda is, even a Brahmananda is only revelation of this Atmananda, a minute fraction. Atma Upanishad is beautiful, that Ananda Mimamsa is beautiful, right? So that is what we have to understand. What is this Ananda we are talking about? We are talking about an Ananda which we can't understand unless we actually get that knowledge and then we abide in that knowledge. Then we will know what that Ananda is all about, right? So it is some x to the power something Ananda, that much units, right? X to the power infinite Ananda. And in Taittiriya Upanishad, actually, it starts with this premise: let there be let us assume a human being, a perfect human being. Huh? Of course, that assumption itself is highly questionable. But let us say, for purposes of understanding the Taittiriya Upanishad, that Ananda Bhima is. So this human being, perfect human being, is young, very learned, possess all moral values, and he owns everything that is in this world, including all Kolar gold field, this diamond mines of Africa, everything he owns, everything. There is nothing that he does not own, and he has got all good qualities also. Perfect. That's what we all want to be, isn't it? Perfect. We want everything for ourselves. What would be his Ananda? Let us say his Ananda is one unit. Whatever it is, one unit, right? Eka Manushya Ananda, says Taittiriya Upanishad. And 100 units of this Manushya Ananda is one unit of Manushya Gandharva Ananda, says Taittiriya. 100 units of Manushya Gandharva Ananda adds up to 1 unit of Deva Gandharva Ananda. Then it goes on. Pitruna, 100 units of Deva Gandharva is 1 Pitruna, Ananda, right? Like that it goes. And then Karma Devanam, Indrasya, Brihaspatihi, Prajapatehe, then Brahmana Ananda. That is Ananda of Brahmaji. So at every stage, you actually 100 units of this is equal to 1 unit of the next stage. 100 units of the next stage is equal to 1 unit of the next to next stage. Like that, you go on right up to Brahmaji. So you can imagine how many zeros you have to add from the Manushya Ananda of 1 unit to reach Brahmaji Ananda, how many zeros you have to add. You can imagine that. So each level is multiplied by 100 the previous level. Right? So all these Anandas are included in Brahmananda. So if we start, if this is said, what we will do? We will probably these days take a computer or a calculator and start adding. Take the Taittiriya Upanishad mantra. Okay, 1 Manushya Ananda is 1 unit into 100 into 100 into 100. Go on doing 8 times, 7 times, and whatever till we reach Brahmananda stage. So what Vedanta very cleverly does is, after defining what is the Brahmananda, it says Tasya Anandasya Lesha Leshataha. A small tiny fraction of that infinite Ananda is this Brahmananda, which is the sum of all Anandas put together. That is what Taittiriya says. Now you calculate what fraction it does. Is a Lesha Leshataha means what? tiny fraction is what is this. This Atma Ananda is that tiny fraction of that Brahmananda. That means what? This Ananda does not have even the slightest trace of dukkha. Right? And Puja Swamiji says, suppose a person thinks that he is a very happy person, he has got everything in life. He says you keep talking to him for some time, then one by one all his dukkhas will start coming out. Because this happiness also, unfortunately, he is superimposed upon himself, even though in reality there is no individual who does not have a small amount of dukkha also. Whereas a Brahma Jnani, even the trace of the dukkha will not be there. That is the nature of that Ananda of that Brahma Jnani. So lava ashrita hai tasya anandasya lava ashrita hai Brahma, that we have seen. Okay. So we'll go back to the shloka. So exactly. The shloka he says that Ananda is Akhandananda Rupasya Brahmana. So it is the drop of that Brahman, which is the nature of Akhanda Ananda Rupa. Then he says Akhila hai, all those people, right? So what happens to them? Taratamyena Anandinaha Bhavanti. All these people, they become happy not uniformly but by gradation. Who all this from Purusha right up to Brahmaji, right? And we have experienced it also, that a particular thing does not give everybody the same amount of happiness, isn't it? Different people will, even though everybody may be happy, for example, I say a joke. Everybody will like the joke and they will enjoy the joke, but everybody will not be equally happy in the same degree. There will be taratamya, there will be a differentiation, gradation in their happiness for everybody. Right? So, when it is said that this level of Brahmananda, what it would be, one should be very careful. One should not think that this Brahmananda is another very, very happy experience. It's going to be another, total happy experience. Because any experiential happiness will be limited. The moment we say experience, it would mean limited only. Experience will start and then end. So it is a mental state. Even that samadhi nilayam, if you take the Yoga Shastra, samadhi also, if you say I experienced ananda in samadhi, that is also experiential happiness only. When the samadhi ends, the ananda will end. Right? So this is how we have to understand this infinite ananda, akhanda ananda, right? So how will we identify that ananda? As I said earlier also, whenever we have the experience of ananda, we must understand that it is a reflection of our pure ananda, our nature. And which is what is experience. It's just like looking at the mirror. When we see our face in the mirror, we know that this is not the original face, but this face is a reflected face which is there because of the original face. I can't see my original face at all. I can see a reflected face in a mirror. Similarly, in the mirror of our mind, when given certain circumstances and situations, which is that purnatvam, desireless status, momentary desireless status, Purnatvam. When that happens, when the mind is resolved in that Purnatvam, this Ananda gets reflected, this pure Ananda gets reflected in the mind. And that is what we experience as experiential happiness. If we understand that, then we have a method or a clue to understand what is this pure Ananda is all. Right? So therefore what? We need not go behind any Ananda. Ananda is within us. The whole Ananda, total infinite Ananda is within us. We just have to understand it is within us. And what we have all to do is, in order to have that Ananda, a limitless go, we must try to see ourselves as Purnam every moment. To see ourselves as Purnam every moment, what we have to do? We have to get rid of all the desires. Because desires bring up the Apurnatvam. Because of Apurnatvam feeling, only desires come. So as long as you are feeling Aham Purna hai, this Ananda will keep on reflecting. Then that is what Mahatmas do. They always abide in the Purnatvam of their nature. So they are always happy. What is, there is no quantity restriction. This is unlimited flow, like the Ganges flowing from the Himalayas. Perennial flow of this Ananda. You don't need to worry, oh my God, if I enjoy so much today, the stock of Ananda will be finished. You don't need to worry. It will keep on flowing because it is the permanent source, perennial source within you. It is your Swarupa. So that is what he is trying to emphasize here. That is the Jnani's Ananda. And that is understanding the Purnatva. Right. Did I cover all the words here? Where is that? We are in 58. Yeah. Akhanda Ananda Sarupasya Tasya Nandalavashritaha. I will explain this. Brahmadhyastaratamyena Bhavantya Nandino Kila. All these people, Bhavantya Nandina. That is Nandati Eva. Yeah? Right. So Akilam, all this Sarvam, what they're called Nandavanam. For a Jnani, everything is just Nandavanam and he's happy. Okay. Right, now we'll go to the 59th sloka. Tadyuktam akilam vasto vyavaharastadanditaha tasmat sarvagatam brahma chire sarpirivakile. Another aspect with beautiful example Adi Shankara is giving. Here, Shankaracharya is saying that all the people, Ajnanis, Ajnanis, every all the time, they are in Brahman alone, they are abiding in Brahman alone. Right. And everything they are saying, I experience, they are actually seeing Brahman alone in every experience also. And anything that they are handling, all the time they are handling Brahman alone. Therefore, everything is Brahman and they are in Brahman. That is the reality, he says. They are experiencing Brahman, they are transacting with Brahman. All transaction, everything is on Brahman alone, which is taking place. Right? And this applies to both Jnani and Ajnani. Then what is the difference between a Jnani and Ajnani? Jnani knows this, Ajnani doesn't know it. That's all is the difference. Right? Which is Swamiji quotes one very nice example. One fellow was eating Rasagulla. without knowing that it was Rasagulla. So he went on eating and he was asking, please get me some Rasagulla, please get me some Rasagulla. I have never tasted it. Then the Guru came and said that what you are eating is that only, my dear, it is Rasagulla only. Similarly, everyone is experiencing Brahman alone. How? We have seen examples, right? Suppose a person is handling a pot, seeing a pot, handling it. In fact, he is going and filling it with some water and all. If you ask him, what are you doing? He says, I am filling water in this pot. But a wise man comes and says that you are calling this a pot, fine. And you are also saying that you are handling a pot. But do you actually understand that there's nothing called a pot? Pot is a word that you are using for a form of clay. What you are having in your hand is nothing but clay in a certain form, for which you have given a name pot. All the time, you have been handling clay only. Suppose a Jnani says this. And she says, what should I do for that understanding? He said, close your eyes and visualize the clay. And think that what you are handling in the hand is not a pot but a clay. Do nididhyasanam, clay nididhyasanam. So if this fellow does, he says, I have experienced the pot plenty of times. What I have not experienced is the clay. So the clay is Satyam and the clay is the pot Karanam. And he goes into a Nirvikalpa Samadhi. For what? Nididhyasana, clay realization. And he is looking for clay in his mind. But will he get it? He won't. What he was having in the hand was clay. Right? There is no need for him to go to Nirvikalpa Samadhi to actually realize what he already had. So, why should one go in search of clay for closing the eyes and going into meditation and all? As long as he understands that everything is, all pots are made of clay only. All earthenware are made of clay only. Clay is the Karanam. All different earthenwares are just Nama Rupa of that clay. If he understands that, there is no need for him to visualize a clay. So for us also, if we understand that Sarvam Brahmam, everything is Brahma, Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi, Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivatena Gandhavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. If we understand everything is Brahman, that is self-knowledge. And that Brahman, Aham Asmi, self-knowledge. Okay. So this is what he is trying to say here. So Brahman is the Satta, is the original existence, pure existence. And whatever exists in this world, which we experience, is that very Satta. Whenever we say is, am, it is that Satta we are referring to Brahman only. Clock is, flask is, timepiece is, what is that, computer is, I am, you are. Whenever we are using all these is and are and am and all that, what we are referring to is that Brahman only. Because that is the pure existence, which never goes away. Easiness can never be taken away from any object. So whenever we say I am experiencing an object, we are actually experiencing two things. One is the shape and name of a particular thing, object, and the easiness of that object also. Like the typical example we keep giving in Vedanta. Whenever we say I am seeing something, we actually have to understand we are seeing two things. One is that object and the light which is falling on that object, because of which we are able to see. If the easiness is not there in an object, that object will not exist. The existence for any object is lent by that ease. And that ease is what? Brahman, Brahma Swarupa. Without that ease, nothing can exist. That ease is the pure existence. This has to be understood very, very firmly. So when we say we are experiencing object, we are actually experiencing Brahman only, which has lent existence to this object, because of which, because of our ajnanam, because of our lack of knowledge, we think that we are experiencing an object, but in fact we are experiencing Brahman alone. Because what is this object? Nothing but a nama rupa of that Brahman. So we are experiencing Brahman alone. So this again, the subtle distinction we have to draw in all our experience. And the beauty is, because Brahman is pure existence, pure consciousness, pure Ananda, it has to be experienced through an upadhi only. You cannot, the electricity is there in this entire universe, right? But that electricity has to be captured through some device for us to make use of that electricity. To understand that electricity is there, we need a light bulb to light, a fan to rotate, a mobile to be charged. If these don't happen, we think electricity is not there. We will never understand that there is something called electricity. And for all these to work, we need to have a transformer, generators, and we need to have these dams and turbines and all to generate that electricity from various sources, from water, from air. It is all, electricity is there everywhere. In different sources it is there. You can tap electricity from different sources. Solar, electricity. So like that, Brahman is there everywhere, but it manifests only through objects. That is how, through this experience of the objects alone, we can understand that there is something called Brahman, right? So when you talk about Jnani, Ajnani, we can say that an Ajnani has got Chidamsham of Brahman, Satamsham of Brahman, whereas a Jnani has got Satamsham, Chidamsham, and also Ananda Amsham. That Ananda Amsham is there, but we are not able to, because of Ajnanam, that Maya Shakti is actually wheeling that, covering that Ananda Amsham. In fact, it covers all the three Amshams, because we don't even realize that our existence is because of Brahman. That is a different topic altogether. Let me not get into that. Right? So therefore he says, Akhilam Vastu Tad Yuktam. Every object in this world is a creation and is associated with Tat. Tat means Brahman. Associated here, we should understand Adhisthana Rupena Vartamanam. Sayoga Sambandha. Just by its presence. Right? So it is Tad Yuktam, associated with Brahman as if Adhishtanam. Right? So if you remember the pot and clay example, it will be very clear. Similarly, vyavahara tadanvitaha, right? Vyavahara tadanvitaha means all our transactions are tad anvita only, with the Brahman only. Just as we handle a plate, whether we handle a jug or whether we handle a pot, all are vyavaharas with clay alone. Similarly, anything that we handle, we are handling Brahman only. And as I told you, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, I told you that mantra from Bhagavad Gita. So, where is this Brahman, if you ask? The question will still be there for many students. So, we will refer into Bhagavad Gita, right? Ishvara sarva bhutana vriddeshe arjuna tishtati. But then for us, we have come through Tattva Bodha, Katha Upanishad, and now Atma Bodha almost going to finish. These are all LKG stuff, right? So, yatra yatra manoyati tatra tatra samadaya, says Drik Drishya Viveka. So, wherever your mind is going, Jnani's mind, that is the samadhi for him. That is the happiness state for him. Because he sees everything, he transcends all the Nama Rupa and sees only Brahman in his own self, in everything. Right? So, Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma. Right? Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma. He says, Kshire Sarpihi Ivakhile. So, this is a beautiful example he gives. So, the example here is, if you ask, Sarpihi means what? Ghee, right? Ghee, ghee. And Kshire means milk. So, just like in milk, if you ask, where is ghee in this? Can you say it is in this portion or in that portion or that portion? Ghee is everywhere, but you can't see it. Isn't it? So, if you want to see the ghee, take the ghee out of milk. First of all, you will take butter, then only ghee, right? The Sarpi he has used the example, but butter also you can use. There is butter in the milk everywhere. So what you have to do now to get that, see the butter, Arani Mathanam. Bring that example. We have to do Arani Mathanam. That milk or curd, whatever it is, has to be churned. Then you do the churning. At the end of that butter will automatically come up. Similarly, when you do all this Ravana Manana, Nididhyasana, all these sadhanas, at the end of it, this pure Ananda will automatically come up level. That is what he is trying to say in this sloka, Tad Brahma iti avadhanaye. Right? So, Ananvastulam Ahistvam, not this, sorry. The previous one. Taddutam akilam vastu vyavaharastadamvitaha tasmat sarvagatam brahmachire sarpirvakire. That is the meaning of this sloka. So, after this Arani Mathanam and all that, Atma Ramano Dhyanam Mathane Satatam Krute. You saw that, right? So, this is a Kaivalya Grahana. You will get the moksha, Kaivalya. So, after doing this Dhyana Mathanam, Akile Kshira Sarpihi Iva, whole milk is full of Kshiram only, this Sarpihi only, of the butter or ghee only, right? So now, one question could be, should we take these verses as Brahma Swarupam or Jivan Mukta's vision? We can take it both the ways. Right? It is this Jivan Mukta, this Brahman which a Jivan Mukta merges into. Merges again, figuratively. And the Jivan Mukta is aware of this all the time. And through everything that he does, that he is actually abiding in that Brahman. And that is what is called abidance in Brahman. If you are realizing Brahman in everything that you do, that is what is called abiding in. Nothing else is there other than Brahman. So a Jivan Mukta is aware that Akhilam Vastu Brahma Yuktam, or you can say Jivan Mukta merges into such a Brahman at the time of Videha Mukti. So this is the 59th sloka. 60th sloka we'll see in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all. Any questions are there? If there is no question, we can close.
Namaskaram, Mama.
Namaskaram. Thank you very much. Adutha class Tuesday Papo.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you.